everybody. Welcome once again to Real Shame, the Wednesday episode. It's a show where we talk about our list of movie blind spots, aka our list of shame. My name's Andy.
And I'm Adam. I got it right this time.
Last time,
I didn't get it right.
Monday's episode, we talked about Stakeout, starring Emilio Estevez and Richard Dreyfuss, or maybe the other way around, Richard Dreyfuss and Emilio Estevez.
That's right.
This time, we are talking about the sequel to Stakeout, called appropriately enough, if I could say the word appropriately, Another Stakeout.
Another Stakeout, guys.
Adam, tell us a little bit about Another Stakeout.
All right, let's go into 1993's Another Stakeout.
Okay, since this is now classified as an officer-involved shooting, you two won't mind a quick visit with the DA's office.
What? The guy was resisting arrest.
It took the two of us
He
to
can't
hold him
file
down.
charges against me.
What the hell are you talking about?
The gun was falling out of my hand
was
for
gonna
crying
shoot
out
him.
loud.
Hey!
Under control.
Who's saying anything about filing charges?
Well, you said the
No,
DA's.
no, I didn't say anything. You two are temporarily reassigned to the DA's office, and they'd like to stop by and tell you why.
Do we get a choice?
Choice? A handcuffed suspect? Good afternoon.
Philip. Gentlemen.
Gentlemen, this is Assistant District Attorney Gina Garrett. This is Detective Chris Lisi, Detective Bill Reimers.
Oh, I'm really sorry about that. I didn't mean for that.
Another Stakeout. Join Richard Dreyfuss and Emilio Estevez as they're assigned to yet another stakeout, but this time they're joined by, I think she's an assistant DA, Rosie O'Donnell. Again, loose story, ready for the comedy fruits to hang off of it. This movie played all the time on HBO growing up.
Really?
I have seen bits and pieces of this movie so much. But is this something you've seen before? And what'd you think of Another Stakeout?
Yeah, so I'd never seen Stakeout, and consequently, I'd never watched Another Stakeout because I felt like I would not know what was going on. I'd be like, "What the hell? Who are these guys?" So
You really feel that way?
no. Now that I could have watched Another Stakeout at some point, but I never did watch it. But now that I watched Stakeout, I watched Another Stakeout. So I was thinking after I watched it, what makes a good sequel? And I mean, there's no tried and true formula.
Yeah.
There's no magic formula that says like, "Oh, this is good." But typically, if you just rehash the same movie, usually it doesn't end up being as good because people complain. They go, "Well, it's just exactly the same as the first one," or whatever. Sometimes it does work, but
I don't. But it's interesting because Bob Zemeckis and Bob Gale, the writer and director of Back to the Future and the sequels, says that the formula for a great sequel is to give the audience what the first one, just slightly different.
Well, but you got to have that slightly different part. You can't just do the exact same thing in order to make it. So I felt like, in this movie, obviously they're on another stakeout, as the title so implies.
Oh.
But
what if they were on Stakeout? That would be so disappointing.
They throw in, they decide to add a character to this movie. As you said, it's Rosie O'Donnell. Rosie O'Donnell was huge in the early 90s. Like, she had come off her big role in A League of Their Own.
Yep.
She was in Sleepless in Seattle. And so she was riding high. She was very popular this time. So, I mean, who better to get for her comedic talents than Another Stakeout? And
wait, she has comedic talents?
Well, I was going to say, I say who better to get anybody else besides Rosie O'Donnell. Because watching it, almost 30 years later, I had enough of Rosie real quick, right? Yeah. I enjoyed revisiting what's her name, Bill and Chris, I think is Richard Dreyfuss.
Chris would be
Richard Dreyfuss.
Yes,
yes. And I think Bill is Emilio Estevez. So I actually wrote it down on the Stakeout notes, but I didn't write it down on these notes. But I think that's right, Bill and Chris. I enjoyed getting back with those characters because, again, they're still playing off each other. They're still making me laugh. And I do like the part or the fact in this one that they have to pose as father and son.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really funny because Emilio Estevez keeps calling him daddy.
Yeah.
Everything.
That was pretty funny. And they made him shave his mustache, and he was like, the whole time he's like, I really miss that mustache. And he's like asking the guy, like, what? How do you like that mustache?
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
How long have you had that? Yeah, Dennis Farina.
Yeah.
And I like Dennis Farina. He's really funny in this, especially the part where he's eating the ice cream really fast.
Yep.
Trying to get out of the house or whatever. But I would say this movie's okay. I still thought it was decently funny, but man, a little bit of Rosie O'Donnell goes a long way. I found her very, very grating most of the time. Really, and that's my chief complaint with the movie. I felt like in this case, maybe it would have been better just to rehash the first film, or if you're going to add a character, don't add Rosie O'Donnell for crying out. And again, I get why they did it because she's very popular at this time. But for me, I was like, get her out of there.
So we have the same director again, and we have the same writer again. And I also wrote in my notes that Rosie O'Donnell made the movie worse, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Too. I wish they brought back. I wish Madeleine Stowe was in a larger role in this movie.
Yeah.
And I think I read online or in the trivia and stuff that there was scheduling conflicts with her, and that's the reason why they couldn't bring her back. But I think having her back and having her maybe pretend to be Richard Dreyfuss's wife in this, because the whole, their whole issue is that he won't propose to her, right?
Yeah.
So what's a better way to kind of have that comedy bloom from that than have them where he has to pretend to be married to her, while they're on this stakeout, right? And then all that all that kind of stuff can just you can just pick all these comedy fruits. I don't know why I'm on this fruit metaphor and stuff like that out of it.
That's actually a really great idea.
And I think it would have made the movie so much better. And maybe that was the first draft or whatever, but I think that would have made the movie a lot better. And she was so good. I don't think we said in this last review, but I thought Madeleine Stowe did a great job in the first movie, and her interactions, although a little bit, it's hard to believe that her and Richard Dreyfuss would get together in real life, but it was still fun to see on screen and stuff like that.
Yeah, it worked. No, I agree wholeheartedly with you. I thought she was great in the first film, and I wasn't even sure she was going to be in this film.
Yeah.
Because
they kept on talking about her, but she was never on screen, so you were like unsure if she was actually going to make an appearance. And I think she's only in like the last part of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, you see her at the beginning, and she's like leaving, and then you don't really see her again until the end. And is she in the opening credits? Is her name listed? I couldn't remember because I was watching the movie and I was seeing people's names come up. There's no Forrest Whitaker in this movie.
Nope.
Dan Lauria is still in it now. He's their boss. Yeah. Which I thought was funny because he's worked kind of alongside those guys. He knows what bumbling idiots they are, but he still assigns them to this case. I guess there's just nobody else to do it.
Nope.
But no, I think that's a great idea, what you said, and I feel like that would have made a way, way better movie had Madeleine Stowe been able to be in that role that Rosie O'Donnell's in.
Yeah, just Rosie O'Donnell just seems like really one note the whole time. And
absolutely.
I think the joke is that she thinks she can do this and she thinks knows what happens, but she really doesn't know what happens. But when you have Richard Dreyfuss and Emilio Estevez who are kind of bumbling but kind of competent and stuff like that, that just doesn't play well. It's not a really good enough contrast in my mind, or to make it like really funny and to elevate the material.
Yeah.
And her calling the dog Archie is just like grating. It's just like nails on a chalkboard.
Absolutely.
Kind of stuff.
Just about every scene she was in, I wish that obviously that she wasn't in it. And it's funny, early in the movie when they're about to go to the place where they're going to do the stakeout, they're picking her up in their car, and she's got the dog, and she's like, if the dog doesn't go, I don't go. I would have been like, all right, bye, and like just left, and that would have saved us a lot of heartache for this movie. But I mean, again, overall, I still thought this movie was enjoyable.
Yeah,
I still had a good time with it. It's just not nearly as good a time as the first.
And I think when I watched it on repeat in HBO, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Like her, but I think just X number of years later, it's just kind of like and stuff like that. I like, again, we're in Seattle. We're in a different location in Seattle. We're in this kind of upscale kind of island where the well-to-do kind of live and stuff like that. And that's an interesting contrast. And they're spying on some neighbors of theirs. They're renting a place in the islands, and because they think he's going to make contact with a lady who's on the run and stuff like that. So, and like you said, the couple's pretty interesting.
They're pretty funny.
Yeah, they're pretty funny. And the dinner where she's trying to be, I want to say Susie Home Cooker, but I don't know if that's like a derogative saying or whatever. Where she's trying to put on airs that she can be a good wife and that she's making all this kind of food and stuff like that, and it just comes out like really weird, kind of weird choices of food and stuff like that, like meatloaf shaped like an armadillo and stuff, like all that kind of stuff is pretty funny, and it's well worth kind of watching the movie and stuff.
I agree with that. So there's more Dutch angles in this movie,
and
there's even a bizarre cat ass cam view. Did you notice that when the dog is chasing the cat? There's a POV, presumably from the cat's ass, because there's a tail above the camera and it's running away. So I was like, it's a POV from the cat's ass. It's the cat ass cam. I was like, that's the weirdest choice.
Cinema's first.
First and presumably only. I don't know what John Badham was thinking when he was like, "Hey, okay, this is how I want to view this."
There's a couple shots where like the car would be pulling away this way, and the camera would just move this way. So like the car is like going up vertically in the frame and stuff like that.
Weird.
It's just like a weird. It's just a weird shot. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
It kind of made me remind me of a little bit of Donnie Darko, like getting out of the bus, like that kind of big camera swoop. Not as well done, but that's what that those kind of big moves make me think of and stuff like that.
So there's a term, I don't know if you've heard this term, and I forget the guy's name that actually coined it. It's called legasequel. Have you heard of that?
I have
the word
heard
legacy and sequel put together.
I have heard legasequels a lot. I'm trying to remember who it was. I don't.
Well, I think this movie needs. I think it's time to revisit these characters again, right?
Yeah, I think
we need a legacy sequel.
I would enjoy seeing Emilio Estevez and Richard Dreyfuss again.
I would too.
And maybe not rebooting the franchise, but I would see them do yet another Stakeout. I mean, hey, we got your name right there, guys.
Yeah, yet another Stakeout.
And bring back Madeleine Stowe,
please.
All right, and then we'll just call us, email us, realshame@gmail.com. We'll pitch you ideas if you have the rights to this. And you can take them and make a few dollars off our sequel idea. And
there you go. There you go.
But yeah, it's just a fun movie. I think Rosie O'Donnell kind of is a little bit more grading, so it's not as fun as the first movie, but it also doesn't have a lot of the stark contrast with the violence and stuff like that. Like the beginning parts, where it's interesting that this movie does kind of follow the same plot points a little bit as the first movie, but like the opening scene where you have the bad guy and it kind of establishes why they're going on a stakeout is more elevated, so it doesn't feel as dark as like the first movie, right? Because you do have like people dying and stuff like that, but just the way it's done with like what is it, like someone who's siphoning the the septic system and stuff like that, and that explodes and all that kind of stuff is more funny than like seeing some guy just like knife to death a doctor and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's much less dark. I agree. Even though that is true, it kind of does follow the same formula.
And I do,
back
to
Miguel Ferrer, who's
the
killer.
Instead of having Richard Dreyfuss go across the street to, install the phone and the wiretaps, they have Emilio Estevez go across the street. So it's kind of cool seeing those kind of parallels play out and stuff like that.
Yeah, agreed. Before I get into the Rotten Tomatoes score and we do our viewer question, I do want to mention Dan Lauria, the guy that plays their boss in this movie, and in the first movie, he's partners with Forrest Whitaker. I saw Dan Lauria at Portillo's in Chicago a couple of years ago. Celebrity sighting, right? I was with a group of people. We were eating at Portillo's in Chicago, and he was sitting like right next to us, just by himself.
Dan Lauria from Another Stakeout.
Well,
Dan Lauria.
I couldn't think of his name. Well, I know him primarily as Jack Arnold, Kevin Arnold's dad in the Wonder Years. Although he has, I looked up on IMDb, he has over 200 acting credits, so he's far from a one-hit wonder. And I hadn't seen Stakeout at that time.
Yeah.
But I saw him, and I was like, it's that guy that played Kevin's dad on Wonder Years. I couldn't think of his name. And I don't bother celebrities if I see them out and about, because I mean they're trying to he's trying to eat, right? He's trying to eat his hot dog. But there was another member of our party who was much more gregarious than the rest of us. So she's like, I'm gonna go talk to him. So she goes over, and again, he's just sitting by himself enjoying a hot dog or whatever, chili dog. And she sits down and just starts talking to him, like, "Hey,
oh my God,
you're famous,
Gives me like anxiety thinking about that."
No, but apparently he was like really nice. I mean, I wasn't really listening to the conversation or whatever, but he was really nice or whatever. And then she comes back over and she's like, "Yeah, I don't remember if he was filming something in Chicago or if he was just there. I can't remember why he was there, but and then he got done." He threw his plate away. He came by our table. He said it was nice to meet you all, even though he hadn't met us. He said it was nice to meet you guys. Have a great day or whatever, and walked away. Seemed like a really nice guy. And I guess he went back to his stakeout. I guess he left to go.
There you
go relieve Dreyfuss and Estevez. But anyway, that's my Dan Lauria sighting in the wild.
I was gonna say, like, you're like, I haven't seen Stakeout before I saw Dan Lauria. I was like, that's good, because that would just ruin the whole premise of the show. If we're saying we haven't seen these movies, but we've actually seen them.
Right. No, I really had not seen either Stakeout movie, but I did see Dan Lauria eating at Portillo's in Chicago. Good on you, Dan. All right. This movie, not nearly as well received as the first one. It's only 16% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes and only a 28% audience score.
Maybe they were not high on the Rosie O'Donnell bus either.
Maybe so. Just like with Stakeout, Siskel thumbs down, Ebert thumbs up. Malton gave the first one 3 stars. He gives this one 2.5 stars.
Was I always felt like Siskel's more of a populist kind of movie guy, and Ebert was more of the art house kind of fare. Do you think that's right, or is that inaccurate?
I don't know. Maybe the other way around.
Interesting.
Well, I don't know though. I that's a good question. I really can't answer that.
Well, if you have an opinion, leave it down below. All that kind of stuff. All right. Well, I would think it would be higher, but I kind of get it.
Still worth watching.
Still worth watching.
Yeah.
Still worth watching for sure. And that was our take on Another Stakeout. We always like to answer questions in these Wednesdays reviews, and we chose a question that seems to be on topic this week. And the question is, what are some of your favorite sequels? So, we did a Stakeout, we did Another Stakeout. So let's talk a little bit about, filmmakers and the movie industry is always making sequels, and what are some of those that we find that we like, that we think rise above everything else? So I'll start with one. I had a friend introduce me to this movie. I have yet to see the first movie. I've only seen the second one, and it's directed by Jim Wynorski, and the movie is Deathstalker 2. Deathstalker 2 is awesome. I don't know how well it relates to Deathstalker 1. I don't even think it has the same actors as Deathstalker 1, but I really, really, really enjoy Deathstalker 2, the cheesy goodness that is Deathstalker 2. It's an amazing movie.
I haven't seen either Deathstalker, so I need to get on that.
I think there's like 4 of them. Because at one point in time, I was pitching a 5th Deathstalker to my friend. Because it was gonna be like Deathstalker goes to the future, goes to modern times. And so we're gonna do like a Sword and Sandals and modern times. It would have been cool.
That would have been cool. All right. I'm sure we have a lot of overlap on our list, but I'm just going to mention 2 here right off the bat that anytime you're talking about great sequels, Terminator 2, that's a no-brainer. Aliens, arguably Alien 3. Are you an Alien 3 guy or no?
I like Alien 3. I was going to say Terminator 2. If you remember a couple weeks ago, I did my rundown of Terminator films, and Terminator 2 is the top of mine.
Yeah.
I like Alien better than Aliens.
Yeah.
I think Aliens is really good, but I'm sure I've said this on podcast, so sorry guys, you get to hear it again. But I watched Alien like years ago after seeing Aliens, Alien 3, all the sequels and stuff. I watched Alien, and it still worked for me. It's a scary movie. It still pulled me in. So for me, that makes that movie higher in my mind, because knowing everything that happens, knowing about the movie, and still being able to fall into it and be consumed by it was just awesome.
What's another one of yours?
So this is probably also no shock to anyone, but my favorite Captain America movie, and probably my favorite Marvel movie, is Captain America Winter Soldier. I think that's probably, that and the Avengers are probably the best 2 in my opinion.
I don't know what my favorite Marvel movie is, but I think Winter Soldier is the best Captain America movie for sure.
And I'm super I'm hot on Thor 2. I know not a lot of people like Thor Dark World. I think I like Alan Taylor because I also like Terminator Genesis, and a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
So I think Thor 2 is woefully underlooked at, and it doesn't have the best story, but the realism that Alan Taylor gives Thor, especially after Kenneth Branagh's bleached beard and Dutch angles from Thor 1, it can't be understated how he set this character on the right trajectory for Taika Waititi to do in Thor 3 Ragnarok, which is probably the best of the Thor movies, I think.
I think it is, yeah. I like Psycho 2. Obviously, I don't like it better than Psycho 1, but I always felt like Psycho 2 is a very worthy sequel to the first film because it was written and directed by a guy who was obsessed with Hitchcock. So I feel like he tried to emulate Hitchcock as much as possible, and I feel like Psycho 2 works really well. Again, just not as good as the first.
Is it better than the Gus Van Sant remake?
I've never seen that, but I would guess it is. I would guess it. I never wanted to see that because I always heard it was basically just shot for shot.
Yeah, he does a little change, but yeah, it's mostly shot for shot.
It's
probably like 95%.
Yeah, but I just never seen it, so can't comment. But I would assume it is.
And still on the superhero train, my favorite Chris Nolan Batman film, The Dark Knight. I know you prefer Batman Begins over that.
I do.
I think you might be in the minority of that. I think The Dark Knight's awesome.
I'm definitely in the minority. Everybody loves Dark Knight. Big time. Empire Strikes Back. Anyone? I mean, come on. We always talk about that's the best, at least of the original trilogy. Probably the best out of all 9, right? I mean, I don't think anybody would argue. Well, plenty of people would argue with that. I don't think we would argue about that.
Yeah, for sure. Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan, probably the best Star Trek movie. It's
choice.
probably better than most of the original series, honestly. Nicholas Meyer, who kind of went in and built that from like 7 different scripts and just kind of made this thing. It holds up. If you've never seen Star Trek, the series, or if you've never seen the first Star Trek movie with Viger, Star Trek II stands alone as itself. And he also brought in a lot of realism into that movie. He made it more like a Navy kind of film. He watched a lot of like these old kind of Navy and battleship kind of movies like Battleship Potemkin and stuff like that. And he kind of brought that seriousness into Star Trek 2. And Star Trek 2 is just awesome. And
Star Trek 2 is the first mention of Kobayashi Maru, right?
Kobayashi Maru.
Maru.
You get to see the Kobayashi Maru, and he did it out of spite for the fans because they heard that he was going to kill off a character. He's like, oh, I'm going to kill off all the characters.
Yeah.
Spoiler for the movie.
Right.
So, yeah.
But not really. They don't really die.
But, and then I'm jumping ahead and not doing direct sequels, a little bit of my last 2. Everyone knows this already. Last Crusade, probably my favorite movie of all time. Definitely my favorite Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah.
And Fast and Furious, the 4th Fast and Furious film. It's I think it's the Fast and Furious or something like that. The 4th one is, I think, the best of all 9 of them so far.
The Fast and Furious movies all are kind of the same to me, even though they definitely get more ludicrous as it goes along. So I just wrote down Fast and Furious and the other franchise that I watched recently, the Triple X franchise. I feel like all the movies are all kind of the same, but equally fun, I guess, is probably the best way to say. I'm not dogging them at all.
I just think Justin Lin, he got hired on for the 3rd one, Tokyo Drift. And Tokyo Drift, I think, had a lot of stuff it had to do and a lot of constraints applied to it. And I think whenever the Fast and Furious, the 4th movie came out, it kind of felt like he could take it a different way and, work with Chris Morgan. And they were kind of out of the whole street racing thing. And they turned it more into like a, almost like a heist movie and a little bit of like a cop movie. And I think that just is what elevated the whole movie and led to 9+ sequels, or not 9+ sequels, but led to like 9 movies and then like the Hobbs and Shaw spinoff and all that kind of stuff.
Well, in the next Fast and Furious movie, when they finally bring back Han, maybe that will be my favorite.
Yeah.
Because I've been waiting for Han to come back.
Justice for Han
for a long time.
So. Yeah, I can't believe they let Jason Statham into the group with all that stuff that happened to
Such
Han.
BS.
And Luke Evans, I hate him.
I don't get it.
Hashtag not my Gaston.
All right. Well, I don't really. I have a couple others written down here, but who cares?
All right,
that's good enough.
That's some of our favorite sequels. If you have a sequel that we didn't mention, leave us a comment below or shoot us an email, realshame@gmail.com. Start a conversation on YouTube. That would be super cool. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, and share the podcast, the show, because that really does help spread the word, and we would really appreciate that. And stay tuned next time as we cross another movie off our list of shame. And we will see you next time, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good one.